Alright, today I'm going to work on the doors some, and so I've got the door laid out, and I've got the aluminum that I cut out from the side um, laid on top of the door. Now what I'm going to do is just take the router and just trim up around the edges. Now that that's done, I'm going to flip this over and mark out for the window. Alright, now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it back over and I'm going to see if I can find where the holes for the hinges are. And I'll show you how I'm going to do that in a second. So if you'll remember way back when I was originally drilling the sides for the door hinges and putting in the T-nuts and all that kind of stuff, I made myself a little jig so I would be able to position the hinges correctly. So here's that jig, I've kept it, and this template, and you can see where the holes are. So what I'm going to do is I need to trim it off, and the reason is because if you'll remember, I did have an offset, so I would have a 1/4 inch gap around the edge of the template, and so there was an offset there. So I'm going to trim some of that offset off so I know where it needs to go, and then I'll put it back down here. I'm going to set the drill, and I'm going to drill through the aluminum to make the holes. So I've got this template lined up, so I don't think you can probably see down in those holes, but they're lined up directly over the holes that are in the side of the door. So I've got it clamped down. I'm just going to use the router to do a flush trim with the edges so I know how to position it. So I trimmed them up, and you notice I didn't do the whole thing. All I need to do is just have some places here where I can feel the edges, and so I'll know that it's lined up. So now I'll just take the aluminum, line it back up. Make sure everything's flush. Remember, I trimmed it off. And then I take the template that I just trimmed and put it here on the corner. Clamp it down so it doesn't move. And then I just go in and make my marks. Alright, and what I'll do is then I'll take this off, go somewhere else, just go to another workbench and drill the holes because I don't want the chips falling down inside those T-nuts. So I'll go ahead and do that. Alright, so I've got the aluminum all trimmed, and I have it mounted on the trailer. This is temporary. Basically what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fit the trim work and pre-drill all the holes and all that kind of stuff. So let me show you what that looks like. So here's the trailer with the sidewalls on, and I also have the ceiling on. So I've removed the temporary screws that I had in here, and I put some straps up just to hold it up against the trailer. And you can see what I've done here in the front, and I don't have all the screws in, so that's why it's not flush up against there. But I had to fabricate a piece of trim here, and this is just a piece of aluminum angle that I had to flatten out some. So When I do the one in the back, I'll show you how I did that, but I wanted to do this one. It took quite a bit of fiddling to get that done right. So I'm going to start the piece of trim right here and then just start bending it up and around. So hopefully you can see that. And the one down here, this screw down here, I'm going to use a 1¼ inch screw. I'll use 5/8 inch everywhere else. But the 1¼ inch screw is just basically going to go up into this block that's right here in the corner. So go ahead and get that drilled. So, trim is flush, all straight. Now I'll basically just start bending it up around. I want to get this really in here really tight as I can anyway. And I'll just keep on bending this up and around and putting a screw in every now and then. And then we'll come back, I'll do the other side, and then I'll take it all off, put the sealant in, and put it on for real. So here's a teardrop with the trim temporarily put in place. One of the things that happened, which I knew was going to happen, once I put the trim in, is it really flattened the aluminum, and so therefore I got a little bit of trimming to do back here. I'll just do that with a router, but that's exactly one of the reasons why I wanted to put the trim on temporarily. And so next thing I'll do is I'll get that back part trimmed and put the hinge, the top part of the hinge, on temporarily as well. Hold everything down, make sure everything is fitting correctly, and then I'll take everything off and we'll seal it up. So unfortunately the trim strips that come from the side are only 8 feet. They won't exactly reach. So here I have screwed down the top part of the hinge. So I've got to cut a trim strip that goes from here to here, and then make some cuts here to make it all fit in. So I'm going to go ahead and measure that and get that cut, and then I'll show you how I make these cuts. Okay, I've got this measured out, and I'm going to make the first cut. And for another business that I had, I was able to get this cool portable bandsaw, which I'm going to cut with. However, you wouldn't need this. You could certainly cut this with just a hacksaw. Alright, so there's my mark, and what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to cut off this part but leave the tongue here. So go ahead and mark that. Alright. So if I take my time, I should be able to do that. Pay attention to what you're doing. Alright. Just dress that up with a fire a little bit. Let's go see if it fits. And there's the profile. Alright, so there's what I'm looking at. Alright, that's almost perfect. What I will do is I will pay attention to this gap more than this gap. This gap down here I can fill it with some sealants and whatnot. So now it's just getting the mallet and kind of bending that into shape, putting some screws in it, and getting that set up. Okay, and there's the finished product. That's not as perfect as I would like, but I guess you can't have everything. So anyway, so getting close here, and just a couple more things to do, and then we'll pull these things off and put them on for real.